You're so far away.
I know.
Okay, I'm Jeff. This is.
Amanda.
Let's just start out by just talking about a little backstory on our sobriety. Go ahead.
Okay. I have been sober about 3.5 years.
And I'm going to act like I've never heard this before.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Let's start over.
No, just keep going. I'm not editing that part.
You're not?
No.
Okay. I've been sober about 3.5 years. My sobriety date is February 15th, 2022. By the time it was very important that I get sober, I realized that it was life or death at the time. I knew that I could not do it by myself. And I had actually been going to AA for probably about 6 months at the time. And I had a sponsor. She was wonderful. But it wasn't enough. I was going through a lot in my life at the time. I was going through a divorce, custody issues, things like that. And I needed more intensive intervention for that. So, I really credit, of course, my sponsor in AA is really important, but I really credit going to a rehab facility, not just for my alcoholism, but also for my mental health at the time. I needed more intensive therapy. So that was just a huge part of my recovery. And when I came back from that, I was able to continue therapy, continue working with my sponsor. And that's when she really agreed to start working the steps with me, because she knew that I was in a much better place to go down the path of sobriety.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you did.
Yeah, me too.
So I'm Jeff. I've been sober 2 years and 3 months. My sobriety date is June 2nd, 2023. And I've got a weird story and of course you know my story, so just act like you've never heard it before. But I've got a weird story because I didn't drink, but from like before 19, I drank maybe just a couple drinks or whatever, like most 18, 19-year-olds would do. Mm-hmm. But anyway, under the circumstances, I didn't drink from 19 to 30. Not a drop. Imagine that. And so, but 30, I turned it on pretty hard. And so for 25 years, I drank heavy. And it wasn't beer, wasn't really wine. It was just straight liquor, hardcore vodka drinker. So I got to a point 2 years and 3 months ago that it had stopped. Everything had went downhill. Physical was almost gone. My physical condition was gone. Emotionally, mentally, everything. I was a dumpster fire. And so there's of course a lot of story that I'm not getting into, but bottom line is I went to detox, and then as soon as I got back from detox, which was 4 days, I immediately started with AA, and I never stopped, and basically go every day. I've gone every day, almost just about every day since then. And so we decided we started doing this channel not too long ago, and we started doing some videos and started doing some like stories, and I thought it'd be a great opportunity for us as a couple who are in recovery that we could relate to some other couples out there who are also in recovery, and what's it like. So
I can tell a little bit more about how I got to where I needed to go away. I think that's important because, unlike you, I started drinking when I was probably about 17. Definitely, I was about 17. I was a senior in high school, and it was cool to be part of the cool crowd and go to a party here and there. And all the way through college, I drank pretty heavily, but not every day, or, I wasn't out of control. In my adult life, alcohol was seen as fun. It was a fun getaway. It was a fun escape from the everyday life. I'm a teacher, so that can get pretty intense. And so it was a fun escape until it wasn't. Even after the death of my first husband, I did not drink alcoholically. I mean, there were times I would over imbibe a lot. When I would drink very heavily, but it wasn't all the time. But then when my second marriage kind of took a turn, that was when I became more dependent on alcohol as a coping mechanism, and when my mental health just really went downhill. So I'm so grateful that I was able to find my way out of that darkness. And I never thought that I would really, after those relationships, as you can hear, they weren't very successful, find another relationship. And to be able to find something in sobriety is really amazing.
Yeah. And so let's talk about that. So you were going to AA. We were going to the same group, or let's call it group. And we would see each other.
Yeah.
All right. So so my sponsor told me that you shouldn't make any major life decisions in your first 12 months, of sobriety. So I'd like to say, well, the truth of the matter is I waited 9 months. I couldn't go the whole 12 months. And I was getting a little itchy because when we started dating, I hadn't dated in 2 years. And so I hadn't been with anybody in 2 years, gone out. And so I was getting itchy, and I'm not getting any younger. And so I started, the truth, the reality is, I was going to a meeting one morning, and you know the story, of course, you know it all, but I prayed because I didn't want to screw it up one more time. And here I am in sobriety, and 99% of all the women out there drink, as the men do, but I don't date men. So, I mean, I'm just bringing up the women. But, so anyway, so I knew that I couldn't be with anybody who drank. And so I prayed. Yeah. And then a few months later, you came along. Would you like to tell the story of how?
Well, which story?
How we got to talking
Well, I can tell the story of, because I was already in the rooms, when you came in. Right. And I don't remember the exact day, but I remember
I was looking rough,
noticing you coming in rail thin from, your sickness, your cirrhosis, and just kind of seeing you start coming in every day. And I don't go every day because I have younger kids. So, having to do all of that. So when I would go, I would notice you there. And then it was funny. My sponsor would be there. And I remember sitting next to her and saying, "Oh, Jeff's looking better. He's getting more color. He's getting more pep in his step." And so
I was rough.
You were on my radar. And so I remember probably, what was it, February about? And I'd come home from a meeting, and I work from home. So I'd come home from a meeting, and I was just working, and I get a phone call, and it's an unknown number. And I decided, okay, take the risk, pick it up. And it's Jeff. And you have to understand, I had no desire to date because of my past. And I just was kind of like,
you were the president of the...
Oh, yes. Well, I was president of the Man Haters Club. Right. I was a self-proclaimed president of the Man Haters Club.
That's right.
So, but you didn't know that,
No.
Otherwise you would have been very intimidated, I'm sure. So it's Jeff, and I'm like, "Oh, hey, Jeff." And we had talked a couple of times after meetings. Yeah. Hey, Jeff. Well, I didn't say, "Why are you calling me?" I said, "How did you get my number?"
Yeah.
Because I did not give you my number. And one of our friends from the rooms had given you my number because you had requested it. And I wasn't mad. I was just curious, of course. So you asked me, you kind of got to the point, because I said, "Well, what's up? What do you want?" Because I had to work.
I had some stupid questions. All right. Stupid. So what would you think?
Yeah. So the line was, I don't know if this was a line. I mean, is there pickup lines in recovery? This could have been a good one. Y'all take note. How do you feel about dating in recovery?
That's so stupid. I can't believe I asked that.
No, it was.
is.
I thought it was clever, and I thought it was legit because, it's important. I mean, is my mind even open to that? And I said, well, I'm open to it. I said, but there's a couple of questions I have for you. And I said, one, do you have a sponsor? Two, I started grilling him. Two, have you worked the steps? Three, and I kind of rattled down the list, right? And then I said, well, I think we should both talk to our sponsors about this and see where it could go. And so we continued chatting, though. I felt like the conversation was smooth. And
Yeah, I love the words. I think we should table this. I think we should. You said, I think we should table this for a minute. And
very professional.
And I'm like, that's all right. So that's not a no.
So you're saying there's a chance.
There's a chance. So that's.
Yeah. So I said, we should table this and just get to know each other a little bit. And then we texted back and forth.
A couple days later, we went on a date.
Yeah, we went to a restaurant downtown Fairhope for lunch. I wasn't committing to an evening date. We went to lunch. We both drove separately. And, from then on, I said, well, this is a possibility. And it's been... we took it slow, and I was really happy about that,
And so you didn't really see at that moment, I'm sure down the road you probably would date or get married eventually, but at that moment you had not seen yourself dating at all.
Not at all. No interest whatsoever.
Really had no interest.
I mean, I had friends that were on the dating apps and, that were also in recovery and hearing about their experiences, but also my experience, I had a lot of trauma and I was diagnosed PTSD, actually, not just from my most recent relationship, but from the death of my first husband. So I was determined to work on that for my kids, especially because I never wanted to get back where I was.
Yeah.
And to me, in my mind, a lot of the cause of that was my relationships, my marriages. And so I was pretty determined. I was fine being alone, honestly. I was pretty good with it. But, you came along, and I'm really glad I kept an open mind about it.
Yeah. I was sure really from the beginning that I knew this was going to last. Number one, I prayed, and I had faith that God was going to send something, send you my way. And so I was pretty confident that it would work out, but I knew we had to get to know each other. Anyway, I remember on that first date when we went to that place in downtown Fairhope, I remember one of the first things I said to you is that I understand recovery is first and foremost. Mm-hmm. And I said, so no matter what happens here, I remember saying this part, I think, which was kind of smart, that no matter what happens, if this doesn't work out, it's not going to get weird in the rooms or weird around our other friends. Let's just, can continue on. Mm-hmm. But recovery is most important.
Number one.
And we continue actually that to this day, that recovery has to remain at the top of the list so far as being important, because without it, I am not a good boyfriend, fiance now, and or husband.
Yeah.
If I don't have recovery is the most important, and then I'm not a good citizen.
Well, the thing about the steps, and that's why one of my questions was, have you worked the steps, is that it teaches us how to live life on life's terms. It teaches us how to communicate, to trust in God's will, and to try to remove anxiety from our lives. It teaches us to apologize the correct way, and to live a life of truth and honesty. And so having someone that, being in a relationship with someone who has worked the steps, also someone who has a sponsor, and that I have a sponsor that I'm accountable to, was just really amazing. It was amazing because we each work our own recovery, and that's really important in a relationship when both of you are in recovery, right? Is at least what I've been told, that your journey is your journey and my journey is my journey. I cannot judge your journey, like, or same for you with me. You know, Jeff could come to me and say, well, you know, I don't think you go to enough meetings per week. You know, you need to really make meetings more of a priority, or, you know, this and that. And then, you know, sorry, dude, that's my, you know, this is my circle, you know, of recovery, and you're out here. And yes, you're a part of my life, but I'm working my own steps.
Yeah, and that's a very important part is, and we took that, we used that from the very beginning, that we would stay out of each other's recovery. You know, like you don't tell me the conversations that you have with your sponsor or your sponsees, the people that you mentor in the program.
Yeah.
And I don't either. I don't bring that to you, but we work our own program, and so I think that's important too, don't you think? Just to stay out of each other's our individual recovery.
Yeah. But at the same time, we do it together, you know?
It's kind of the beautiful thing.
It really is. I get to sit in a meeting and hear Jeff share about things, and then he hears me share about things, and our perspective on life in general. And also do events together, sober events.
Amazing.
You know, I mean, everything we do is sober, but when I talk about, you know, getting to, you know, there's for example, there's couples in AA that are kind of like mentors a little bit, because they've been doing this longer than we have. And that's actually something that I hear a lot of times. There's certain people that say, you know, you got to work your own recovery. And that's what's, you know, really cool about that situation.
Yeah.
One of the events, though, I do want to talk about before we started dating, you know where I'm going with this. Every month, the group that we go to has a celebration for people that have a year or more of sobriety. And part of my service work was just helping out with that. Like, I bring the drinks and the ice and, you know, helping out with that a little bit. So it was February. It had to have been February because somebody had brought a king cake. Down here where we live, Mardi Gras is big. So somebody had brought couple different flavors of king cake, right? So I'm over there. I'm trying the king cake, and Jeff comes up, and I'm like, oh, it's Jeff. Hey, Jeff. And I was like, have you tried some of this king cake?
Another stupid move by Jeff.
All right, you take over now.
So, you know, she's being all nice and friendly, just being a normal, nice person. And so she said, have you tried this king cake? And she grabbed a piece, and she went up to feed me.
I was flirting. I wasn't just being nice and friendly.
And she went up to feed me, and idiot stuck out my hand like this so she could put it in my hand so she wouldn't feed. I don't even know what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I have no idea that was so stupid of me to do that. But you wanted to feed me because we were flirting, and I don't know. I was damaged goods, maybe. I was damaged goods.
Yeah.
And anyway, that was... Later, I got to thinking, after how stupid that was of me to do that, put out my hand. Later, I was thinking, maybe she was.
Maybe she is interested. Maybe I got something here.
So it might have been that might have had something to do with me calling you, maybe.
So I guess maybe it wasn't quite out of the blue, because we'd kind of been talking a little more. You know.
We did talk a little bit more each time.
And so after Jeff called me, getting back to that story, I of course called my sponsor and had a at-length conversation with her about it, and she was positive, you know, about the situation. And I said, okay, you know, let's see what happens here and pray about it. Of course, my sponsor always says, well, did you pray about it? And I'm like, no. And you know, it's just learning recovery with a romantic relationship is totally different. Not totally different, but it's different than just first walking through the steps. Because you see it in a whole different way.
Right.
I love that.
So here we are talking about, and you think it's just and it probably is just a small little group of people, but I know there's a lot of people all across the country and all across the world who are in recovery. They're getting out of rehab and they're trying to, start their lives over. And a lot of those people are single. And I don't want to give the wrong impression and say that, recovery is a place to go find your next, partner or anything.
Oh, yeah, definitely not.
But I'm not saying that at all. But when you have two single people that are working the same program, you're automatically, you're on the same path of sobriety and making your life better. Sometimes it works out and you can have this incredible relationship. And I think that's what we have. And I think it's totally due to, number one, not drinking and drugging, and number two, working this plan.
Right.
And we do it diligently,
And the whole foundation is honesty,
right?
And trust, and not putting your faith in things that are going to get you nowhere. So I think that's a huge part of it, because a huge part of relationships is that trust. And once you lose that trust or that respect for someone,
Right.
that can be a huge part of the downfall. So if you know that the person you're with continues to try to better themselves every day, because we never graduate from this program, there's no graduation from
Right.
Alcoholics Anonymous or recovery. If you know they're always working on it every day, then you know that there's always a way to come back to common ground.
When you think about recovery, one of the biggest principles, you just mentioned it, is honesty, because we have to be honest with ourselves, and that's just like one of the biggest things. So honesty in just everyday life, it becomes one of the foundational things that we hold dear now. And to bring that into a relationship is absolutely incredible. And I wasn't necessarily a chronic liar to people who I were with in the past, but there was deception. There was little white lies. Maybe there was some straight up lies, and I'm sure there were, but there was definitely deception. Anytime it came to drinking, there was some kind of deception.
Same here, hiding,
So I think that one of the things I love about us and our relationship is the fact that honesty has been there since day one. And we've been together, what, year and a half now?
Yeah.
So, and that's incredible to be able to say that. I mean, I never experienced that, ever.
Yeah, me neither.
Total, 100% honest.
Same thing with, and not just in a romantic relationship, but in my familial relationships and my friend relationships, I thought nothing about, telling a lie about why I couldn't go do something or, things like that. And now it's just, it's not part of my, it's just not part of my life or my conversations anymore, and if I do say something that could be misinterpreted in a different way, or they didn't understand me, and I have to come back and correct that. Same thing with you. We're different people, so
Right.
sometimes we misinterpret each other in different ways, and we have to come back and say, well, is this what you meant? Because this is how it made me feel.
That is real life. There's something tangible right there, because we have actually used subconsciously, we have used what we've learned in recovery in our own relationship. So we haven't had an argument since we've been together, but we've had 3 or 4 times where there's been what do we call it? It's just kind of something weird. It was
like a disagreement,
misunderstanding,
or misinterpretation. I'd say it's probably more than 3 or 4 times, not a ton, but I can be sensitive. I think that's pretty normal, and
I think we can agree that
get
part
our
of
feelings
it
hurt or whatever.
Part of it has to do that I have a resting dick face.
Definitely.
And I think that's part of it, that I kind of look like a serial killer sometimes.
And sometimes a flat tone, which,
flat tone.
I like excitement. I like, oh yeah, honey, yeah. But that's not you.
So there might have been a couple there might have been a couple times where I had a flat tone, or I had a resting dick face, and you took it wrong. And so, but what the point is that we almost immediately both recognized it, both recognized that moment, and within minutes, we were thinking, okay, how could I have done differently?
Yeah.
And you thought probably the same thing. How could I, how could we have?
Yeah, how did this happen? Where did it start? Where did I start feeling this way? And then what was my reaction to that person? And we do, unless there's kids around and we can't really talk about it, then we're both kind of like we're like about to bust because we need to like talk about this situation.
And we talked it out and everything was fine. I mean, we were laughing and loving life again, just like, always. But I just find that amazing that if people could just take these principles and apply it in their, now we're kind of doing it naturally because we're like force feeding ourselves with recovery, and it's such a beautiful thing. But to apply it to a relationship is new to me.
Yeah.
And I don't know. When I was sitting here earlier before you got here, and I was just thinking of some words that when I think about our relationship and what we've learned in recovery, I wrote down 4 things. One was, well, I'll just say the words: listening, pausing, eye contact, and being present. And those are 4 things that I'm not saying I nail 100%.
Yeah.
But I have progressed at it versus past relationships.
Right.
Like, for instance, I find myself without you've never told me to do this, but without even saying so, like when we dinner, I find myself putting my phone away.
Yeah.
Not at the dinner table, just put it away. Or I find myself, and again, I'm not 100% on this. I'm not, perfect guy here, but for a lot of times when you're talking to me, there are times where I might play games on my phone.
Yeah.
But when you're talking to me, I find myself putting it down more, or get off Facebook, if we're in a conversation.
Social media is hard, but yeah, I mean, it is important to be present with the other person. And that goes both ways for me to you as well. But, in the past, it's like, if you didn't have respect for that person anyway, you were already in a bad place. No way was there going to be a situation that you were going to do that. And you were just going to drink at it. You're like, I'll just take another drink. It'll make me feel better.
Right.
It didn't.
So I'm sure we might even have an argument one day, 1 year. I don't know. I can't imagine what it would be.
People are going to be like, I can't wait for the next episode.
But I'm not saying life isn't perfect, but it's like you mentioned earlier, with what we are learning every day in recovery and being sober, is that we can deal with life on life's terms.
Yeah. And if the other person knows the same, it's like when you read a book with someone, if you know the same story and you're walking down the same literary path with that person, you can talk about it, and you can have inside jokes with that person, and you can apply it to your life together. That's what recovery is. It's like you're reading a book together, and you're discussing it every day and living it in your life. And it's just a really, really special feeling. And I'm very happy.
Yeah. And it's quite amazing because we do have a shared torment in our past, with alcoholism, drug addiction, whatever we did, which is probably all of it. But we had that shared trauma, bad stuff. And now we have this shared beautiful life that we have today. And I want to go back one more time.
Okay.
And just say, I'm not saying recovery is a dating site, okay? But it could fall naturally for 2 people. And all I'm saying is it's really worked out for us because of the principles that we're learning and working in this program.
It makes us better people every day.
Yeah.
Every day, and if you have anything that's causing conflict inside that's just eating you up, you have a solution. There is a solution.
Right.
And it's not drinking anymore. Sometimes it's just life. Life's lifing. And, there is a way to address those things. Call your sponsor, read read your book, or talk to your partner who understands
Yeah.
and can give you the advice that fits with what you're going through, because your partner's going through the same thing.
Right. We have a million little sayings, but one is, not everybody needs to get sober, but everybody needs recovery. And these are just old ancient spiritual principles, that are just good ways to live. And now we work them so we survive, because we don't go back to that old lifestyle that we had. But man, it's just a wonderful life. It really is. We're actually going to do another video.
Yeah.
It was too long to combine them, but we're going to do another video because this is about people in recovery and in a relationship. But then you have a ton more folks that are in this situation where one is trying to get sober and be sober, and their partner still drinks or uses.
It's a tough one.
For
sure.
That's a tough one. So that deserves its own time, its own video.
Good topic.
A good separate that needs for another day. But
well, I think we've solved all the world's problems now.
At least for this minute.
Yeah, right. I'm just so grateful to be an imperfect person and to get to do life with you, and I appreciate you.
I appreciate you, and I love you. And we know several couples that are in recovery together, and it is a beautiful thing. And we see we're not the exception with what we're talking about today. We're not the exception. Every couple that I can think of right now is probably 5 or 6 of them even that are in recovery and they're in a relationship or married. They have it just like we do.
Yeah, they have similar stories and similar things to relate to.
And it is such a beautiful thing. All right, so we could just go on and on. So I need to wind it down, please.
Yeah.
And
I love you too.
And I love you. All right, we're out of here.